But when you don't do well, when the 8-year-old comes home and the report card says A, English D-, you immediately look back on the mistakes you made. You should have read to him more. Maybe you should get a tutor. Maybe you shouldn't have had him watch so much TV. And we take ownership of their stumbles and their failings. I'm not talking about a D- in English. I'm talking about I'm now 20 years old and I'm calling my mom and I'm saying I owe the drug dealer $200 and they're going to kill me. Imagine the guilt my mother felt as my life started train wrecking. And the secret to family systems is that almost every mom and or dad that I've dealt with, mostly moms, maybe it's because you had me for 9 extra months, or is the guilt. When my mother looked back on our life together to see where it had gone wrong, because it was going well for a while, she saw the mistakes. And I'm not saying these are real, I'm saying they're real for her. And she saw them. I let him drink in the house. I shouldn't have divorced his father. I shouldn't have married his stepdad. I should have never put up with some of that stuff. Shouldn't have worked so much. If we had had more money. I should have gotten him to a therapist when he was a teenager because I knew he was getting long hair. Sorry, he got long hair. So I knew we should have. And my mother was haunted with the guilt that she screwed up somehow. And when you feel guilty, you want to make up for it. You want to make up for it. And my mother was trying. If you really feel guilty, you won't want that person to suffer because of your mistakes. When you really feel guilty. You know, so my mother was trying to protect me from the consequences of her mistakes. And she wanted me to succeed. My mother once said to me it was so important for me to get a year sober because it would redeem her as a mom. Which is a horrible thing. And I could tell her all day long it wasn't her fault, but moms look back on all the mistakes. And you will too. So how does this guilt manipulation work? It's not intentional, it's instinctive. And when your guilt rears its ugly head, it will be impossible for you to punish your loved one. I'll give you a little bit of an example of how things go at my family. I'm now in my 20s. I'm back at mom's house. We have one rule right now because I just screwed up and train wrecked again. Here's the rule. Don't screw up. That's it. There's no like get a job and there's just don't screw up. And I'm back there again and I'm living in a little spare, she's turned my room into like a craft room. I have like a little cot surrounded in sewing machines, you know. Grateful to be there, but and my stepdad forgets to lock the closet. He has a big thing of change. And I don't know what comes over me, but I'd thought to use is just there, and I just go. And I grab the thing just intending to go out for a little bit, but I never go out for just a little bit. And I run out that door with that big old change thing. My drug buddies pick me up, and I disappear. And a few days later, I come back home. And I haven't showered or slept in days. I've been on a drug run. I feel like crap. I look like crap. And I'm pathetic. And I walk in, and my mother's in the house. She's pissed. Sitting in a room, book in hand, TV on. David, you did it again. You screwed me over again. You lied. I trusted you. You can't be here, David. Your stepdad is going to divorce me if he sees you here. You stole from him. You stole from us. Your brother said not to trust you, and I believed in you. I believed you. I knew I shouldn't have. You have to leave. You cannot stay here. And I say, yeah, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything, but can I please pack my stuff? She says, fine. And I go and I do the slowest pack in the universe because I got nowhere to go. And I got like 3 possessions, but it takes me about an hour. And I wrap up my little possessions and I roll my little suitcase in there, or her suitcase that I'm borrowing. And I say, Mom, I'm sorry again. But I want you to know I'm never going to quit fighting. And I'm going to beat this thing. Before I go, can I ask you for one favor? She says, what? And I say, I haven't eaten in a while. Could I get a glass of milk and a peanut butter sandwich, please? And my mother has never said no to a sandwich and a glass of milk to a kid who hasn't eaten in 3 days. She says, fine. And I go and I make myself the slowest damn sandwich that I've ever had. And I roll my suitcase, her suitcase, back in. And I say, I guess this is goodbye. I don't have any money or quarter to call you, pay phone, but I'm going to get some change and I'll let you know that I'm still alive and I'm never going to give up. And I'm going to make you proud one day, and I promise you, Mom. So I'm going to go. It's just fine. And I walk out the door and I get to the front door and I open it. And my mother comes around the corner like she has a dozen other times. And she says, where are you going to go? And I say, I guess I'm going to go to Renee's. She says, Renee's a drug dealer. They're drug addicts, those people. Why do you always run to them? Why do you always run to them instead of the people that care the most about you? Why? And I say, Mom, I got no choice. You're kicking me out. And I turn to go, and my mother says, like she has a dozen other times, wait. Come back in here and sleep on the couch. I'll talk to your stepdad. We'll figure something out. True story. Dozen times, one time, 15 times, I don't even know. Let me ask you a question in that story. Did I ask once to stay? And the most important part, too, I did not ask, is that this was not a manipulation. It's instinctive. I truly meant everything that I said. Anybody ever kicked a kid out? Everybody ever kicked their kid out? It sucks. It sucks, right? I've heard that it's the worst feeling. I'm the kickee, so you know what I mean? And ironically, I kick kids out for a living on the internet. No, actually, it sucks. It's brutal. And when that guilt rears its ugly head, we say stop. Sleep it off not always, but sometimes. Sympathy. When you are connected to somebody, it sucks to watch them do that. And only in addiction do you hear kind of this phrase. Like, I knew somebody who was running around on his wife. He was running around, his wife and his kids, he was cheating on him and stuff like that. And everybody said, why are you doing this to your family? Why do you keep doing this to your family? In addiction, when somebody's an addict, they'll say, why are you doing this to your family? But they'll also say something else. Why do you keep doing this to yourself? Why are you doing this to yourself, David? My brother and my family and my loved ones said that line to me, always. And when I would go on a bender, maybe lose a job or not lose a job, I just was one step away from carving my wrist open sometimes. And I felt like the biggest loser. And it's hard to kick the three-legged dog. And I become a three-legged dog. And it's not fake, it's real. You think I'm thrilled? My mother would look at me kind of mad sometimes and yell at me, I can't believe you did it again. I look at her like, you think I like this? You think I chose this? Mom, I'm like 30 years old. All my friends have got degrees and houses. I'm living in your sewing room. So you can lay into me. You don't think I look in the mirror every morning and know what a piece of shit I am? My wife is gone. I don't have a credit card. I gotta borrow your car. I'm a loser, okay? I know it. So go ahead and kick me a little more because I know what a piece of crap I am. You'd have to be a real jerk to want to kick the three-legged dog. And when it goes from Cool Dave standing on top of the roof partying it up, that's a little different than this guy. Why are you doing this to yourself? And you want to do whatever you can do to help that person. And the sympathy hijack is instinctive, not intentional. Can take an angry person into it. What can I do to help you? And the final one is fear. Every family is hijacked by fear. The emotions that enter into a situation or a family dynamic when there's an addiction are so extreme. And fear is a huge one. Not only the fear that I'm going to lose my loved one, but the fear of if they tried to talk to me, I would explode at them or blow up or throw things back in their face. Some of the things that I've said to my mom or my family are horrible. I've gotten in fights with my brother. We were in the kitchen pulling knives out on each other. So the crises and the craziness that happens in addiction, the behind closed doors situation is extreme. And my family was so happy that the crisis was over that the last thing in the world they'd want to do this week, David's got 4 days clean, is go and try to confront me or argue. Like they're just hope maybe it'll work. The last thing in the world they want to do is kick the hornet's nest again. Well, you should kick him out. It's all okay for right now. It's okay. Crisis, calm. Crisis, calm. And that's how they were. They were pretty okay with it. And the emotions, the extreme emotions that exist in these families are so up and down and up and down. The guilt, the sympathy, the hope, the fear, all this stuff. And my rational family that yesterday decided they know in their heart that what they're doing isn't working. They're going to set some boundaries. They're not going to bail me out. They're not going to lend me money. They're not going to do this anymore. We're done. And tomorrow, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and the crisis of the moment is coming. And rational family will walk away and be replaced with emotional family. And everyone around them who is not emotionally connected to me is looking at them like they're nuts. What they're doing makes perfect sense emotionally. It doesn't make a lot of rational sense, but it makes perfect emotional sense. And the stronger your emotional connection to me, the more susceptible you are. And different things work for different people. But the further away, it won't. My brother was getting irritated at this because my family was getting so hijacked at times. Look at what you're doing. I can't believe you're doing this. My ex-wife or my family, a lot of times, the guilt that they felt because they would draw a line in the sand and then I would walk over it and they wouldn't stick to their guns. So the guilt that they felt. And my ex-wife's family would say to them, "What's wrong with you? You keep taking them back. What is wrong with you?" Which would only inflate their guilt even more and more, and they would just stop asking or dealing with help. And the emotions are so extreme in a family. Every once in a while here we have the coroner, the county coroner come out, and I guess we're at a record number of overdose deaths this year, which sucks. And whenever I hear on Facebook or any of that of somebody who we've lost who's overdosed and died, even though I'm in recovery myself, I'm an addict, I don't think about the addict. I think, because I work with all these families, I think of the mom and the dad. You know what I think? Out of the 50 people or whatever that's overdosed so far in the last few months, there's probably 5 or 10. You know what the last words they were to their loved one before they stormed out the door and used too much fentanyl and died? It wasn't "I love you." It was "Get the hell out of here. I hate you." And those are the last words that will bounce in that family's mind when they're at that funeral and everyone comes up and says, "My condolences."